about sleeping disorders, but there's so many disorders. And this segment of the show, we're going to discuss eating disorders, unhealthy relationships with food. Lee, there's so many. I mean, there's bulimia, binge eating, purging, night eatings. What in the world leads to eating disorders?
Well, you know, when you really look at it, I think all of us, you know, I think at one time I had, even though I'm allergic to seafood, I had the seafood disorder. I see food, I eat it.
Yeah,
When you
that's
really
my problem.
think about it, food disorders usually stem from something else other than the food.
People eat when they're nervous. They eat when they're depressed.
Yes, most definitely, yes.
Yeah. We need to use Jesus as a salve instead of other things, and that's where those eating disorders come in.
Oh my gosh.
Most eating disorders, from the research I did, they all stem from our inability to handle normal human emotions in a healthy way.
Yes.
So
that makes
as a
sense.
result, people with eating disorders, they focus on perfectionism and trying to control what you just can't control. So
And Trudy, being in the modeling industry, I'm sure you probably have experience in seeing a lot more young people, especially having these type of disorders.
It's a huge increase in the last 20 years, and it's still predominantly females, but now it crosses every socioeconomic status, and it used to be more upper middle class, but now it's everywhere.
I've got a statistic, 50% of teenage girls and 30% of teenage boys use unhealthy weight control behaviors, and 25% of college women.
Because we're so exploiting, you know, how we look, and everybody just has another edge. And I saw a Facebook posting just recently that said, nothing tastes as good as skinny looks.
And we're capturing it on social media, and that's what it is. They are seeing that image.
Dr. Stacy Rosenfield, I think, wrote a book about it, and her claim is that all women actually have some form of unhealthy behaviors around food because of their self-image.
It's body image.
I believe that.
What's funny about it too is that, you know, it's kind of like a catch-22, because you have all the disorders that people are going through because they can't control and everything else, depression, but at the same time you have a society that pushes food on you 24 hours a day. So no matter what, you know, no matter how you look at it, it's like
in Southern, you say no to food, I get offended, but we do have to take it in, because any obsession with food or body or weight is a disorder in itself.
But you also have society pushing to this image of what every person should look like. This is, you know, the model of what a woman really, you know, a woman of this age and size, you should look like this. You know, it's very rare you just kind of see average people on TV.
I think the core of that, you know, is teaching our kids, and I don't think we can say it enough, that you are fearfully and you are wonderfully made. You're made in the image of God, and He made you the way you are.
But Rebecca, let's talk about, you struggle with bulimia. Now, what
I had never.
What caused that?
Well,
in you?
I never knew anything about eating disorders until I went away to college, and I was at a Christian university, and I was surrounded by girls who were obsessed with their weight, and many times they would only eat 700 calories a day. They'd say, "Okay, we can just binge out on pizza and just, you know, purge and get rid of it, and we can eat a whole pan of chocolate chip cookies and purge and get rid of it." And so that became, you know, something that we all did. And
how long did you suffer with this?
Probably 2 years.
Wow.
And it is very dangerous. You know, I really feel that the spirit behind that, and anorexia nervosa, is death, a spirit of death, because the enemy is after our very life. He's after our young people. And just to be completely malnourished and have no energy, no life, you know, that's what he comes for.
It's statistically proven there is a high mortality rate that's linked to people who suffer from bulimia and anorexia that leads to death.
Oh, yeah. And I saw during the research a beautiful Russian model. I mean, just so beautiful, but her body is now becoming emaciated, and her followers would say, I think her name was Anna, eat something. And so it was all this negativity about her weight and how thin she was getting, and the last caption said, she will be modeling she's been invited to New York's Fashion Week this fall. So what is the
And so they
message
reward it
there?
instead.
Yeah, they are rewarding it because.
But I think it's what Rebecca was saying. You know, you start out with an obsession of some sort, and it leads you down the path of all these different disorders, and you end up trying to find something that's really unattainable, that's not unreal, and everybody's going after these obsessions and can't do that.
So you have to partner with God, right? You have to say,
Definitely.
God, this is not healthy, and I want to change. How can we make a difference? You know, partnering with God makes a big difference. Getting active and doing your part. But I love my daughters lived in a sorority house in college, and they had the scale, and like all the girls lined up at their the right times to weigh herself. But she wrote on it with a marker, big smiley faces. It's just a number. You're beautiful. Don't look at it. But they stayed fit and they were committed to their fitness, but they kept it balanced.
I think also we need to stay in touch with our body and our eating habits, because what you'll find is that when you eat certain foods, it triggers a desire or a taste for something else. You know, especially late eating. When you eat at a certain hour, you get this first, you want something, you eat, then you feel content for a little while, then you go to this desire, you want something salty, and then from the something salty, then you want something sweet, and then it's time to go to bed, and you hadn't used up any of those calories and energy. But it's all related in your mind.
But don't you think, too, with each one of these, bulimia, anorexia, binge eating, at some point, it becomes the psychological part of it kicks in, Lee, and you can't eat. You cannot, your body has shut down from eating and swallowing food.
Because
it gets that
psychologically,
serious.
when they look in the mirror, what they see is they see themselves as fat.
Their body
and really,
can't eat.
We look
It
at it
cannot.
frail and everything else.
I do like the verse, though, that reminds us to honor God with our bodies. And so if you know, and I know what you're saying, but that's kind of late in stage.
That's when they're dying.
That's in stage. And you want to intercede before then with help, with hope that, God, with Christ, I can overcome all things, that He gives us the ability to break down strongholds.
And your body is the temple
And
of the
it is
Holy
the
Spirit,
temple.
you know, and we only get one of them.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So you got to take care of it.
Thank you so much at home for watching. When we come back, we'll be discussing psychological disorders. Stay with us.